Nice. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, is my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Gloth. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm good.
Good.
Happy, alive, healthy, happy, content. I'm content.
Yeah.
You can always be better.
You're right.
In fact, I was once told that the Italians, their word for happy is felice.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't say that ever, because are you really ever happy? So they say contento, which just means content.
But the Italians seem like a happy people. They're kissing people. They're doing hits on people. I've seen
but
Godfather.
Robin Williams seemed happy.
Oh, he did. Did he though? Not really.
I don't know. He seemed like such a happy, fun guy.
He seemed like a very fun guy. You remember when he was friends with that monkey? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, they were like, there was like this thing after he died. He killed himself. There was like, this is a gorilla that he was best friends with. And then the gorilla found out he died and got really, really sad.
Oh.
Yeah, because Robin Williams was great. He had a big head. A big old head.
My pitch this week has some sad moments. Hard segue. Here we go.
Is Robin Williams in it?
No.
Brought him back from the dead for his final performance. He's playing an AI in a ship's computer.
That would be good.
That would be
That'd
good.
Be really good. I would like that show. That's a good enough pitch to get it sold to Netflix, I think.
Yeah, we bring back Robin Williams' dead body. We stick it in a recording studio, and just listen to what comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my show this week is a Western. It's been a while since we did a Western.
It has been a while.
And since I'm in the UK, I feel like there's nothing better to write than a Western.
Yeah.
Because I think there's I think the deep-seated obsession with the United States comes from an insatiable envy, because we had cowboys and they didn't, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they just didn't have the whole Wild West thing that we got.
They didn't get that. Instead, they had imperialism. I mean, we had that too, but
we had it a little later.
Yeah, I mean, and before, and at the same time.
Yeah.
But theirs was on boats. They had pirates.
But boats aren't as cool as, like, horseback and shooting guns and stuff.
Yeah, they had pirates, but, like, all the great pirates were like, oh yeah, I live in North Carolina,
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, we had pirates. They just, shot them and stuff.
Yeah, they just had, I guess, English accents, but not really.
Anyway, Western bank robbery stuff. Cool. Our main protagonist, her name is Kit. Kit is in the beginning of the show in the pilot.
Fisto.
She is a 12-year-old beggar in the streets of Chicago in the 1800s, U.S. of A. She's a, street kid, no parents, living life day to day, pickpocket and such.
Pickpocketing, stealing, getting into bum fights. No.
Well, I don't know. She's 12, so probably not getting into fights. Anyway, the pilot starts off with her wandering and begging on the streets, and it becomes clear that her begging is really just a distraction for her to rob people. And she's a very talented pickpocket.
Yeah.
And she's wandering past the bank when she sees several very well-dressed people with guns and cool, fancy, flamboyant masks run in. And she follows them because she's like, what is this? They have, like, Tommy guns or, lever action weapons. Probably not Tommy guns because they wouldn't have this at this time.
That's
but, like,
1920s gun, but
no. Like, classic cowboy guns, whatever they are.
Yeah, fucking sawed-off shotguns. It's badass.
Yeah. You got the lever action rifles.
Yeah.
All that cool stuff.
I've been watching Red Dead Redemption YouTube videos. I know.
Anyway, clearly the leader of the group, who's dressed, the most conservatively, but has a very, very fancy-looking pistols, 2 double-action revolvers in his hands, walks into the bank and announces, "I'm French Malone, and these are my boys, Give us your money quickly and quietly so we may leave your trivial and mundane lives without bloodshed. And then they rob the bank without hurting anyone, which Kit notices. They just, point guns at people and stuff.
Yeah.
And they give them the money. And Kit finds herself mesmerized by, all the commanding nature in which they take over and disregard the rules of society with, their cool outfits and cool guns, cool people.
Maybe somebody in the bank or like the bank teller or somebody has been like mean to Kit, or is like previously.
And maybe that's the one person that gets like whacked in the side of the head with a gun.
Yeah.
Like the butt of a rifle because he tried to like grab a gun or something.
Yeah, or he like
would make it clear that they only hurt people that they need to.
Yeah, because
and in that
they
case,
just make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kit tries to follow them, but can't keep up because they hop on horseback. And the next day, she sees them dressed differently in the market, but she recognizes them through the revolvers, the colorful fancy revolvers that stuff. French Malone wears. And she tries to talk to them, but they brush her aside. And in anger, when they do that, she robs French of his revolver and runs. And we have a cool chase through Chicago as, she's running through the streets and up, scaffolding and stuff as they chase her down. And she almost gets away. She, dives off of a building into, a haystack, like Assassin's Creed style.
Oh, that'd be great.
But then she gets pulled out by French Malone. Who, is actually ends up being impressed by, her abilities and decides to take her in.
Yeah.
Because, she's just some street kid, so he wants to, mentor her. And so she joins the crew and is tutored under French. French is, in his 40s. He's an Eastern educated man who went west for adventure in his youth, and, he's been there ever since.
He's got a degree in political science.
Yeah.
There's something else lame.
Something, educatedness. I don't know.
Mathematics.
Moral code. I've got down here. He's got a moral code. Doesn't kill innocents. Only robs those who deserve it. He's really big into philosophy, so maybe he's a philosophy graduate.
Was philosophy a major you could have in the 1800s? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
No idea. Anyway, he's philosophy. Okay. Yeah. Talks a lot about Kant or something. I don't know. Reads a lot.
I can't understand it.
Oh, he reads a lot, and he loves to draw in a notebook, and he writes in a journal as well. So he's a very educated, refined person, but he enjoys the thrill of the Western lifestyle. So that's why he's out there. And French sort of becomes her mentor, and he calls her Kitty. His name's Kit. Kitty.
Oh, that makes sense.
Boom. Then we have Gretchen. She's a mute foreigner who's very reclusive, but plays the violin. And is extremely violent.
What kind of foreigner?
That's the thing. That recurring joke is that they have no idea where she's from because she can't speak.
She could be Mexican. She could be Canadian. She could be.
Her name is not even Gretchen.
Yeah.
They just call her that. So they don't know. She just answers to Gretchen.
Maybe she stole a violin from somebody named Gretchen and just says it on the violin case.
Maybe, yeah. But she plays well. That's her thing.
Yeah.
And she understands people. It's just, she's mute. Then we have Anders. Anders is in his 20s. He's a troublemaker. He doesn't like Kit because he used to be, French's prodigal child, But now he's older. He's becoming the workhorse.
Yeah.
And he misses being, the one that was tutored and adored.
Showed how to fire guns and all this stuff.
Yeah. Then we have Jax. Jax is the muscle of the crew. Big guy, but super nice and lovable. He brews beer. That's what I have down. He brews beer at the camp.
That's pretty good. Maybe that's their cover. That's their cover story.
Yeah, they could use that.
And they go town to town, and Jax is the one who everybody sees, and he's this big loud guy who's I'm a beer brewing buddy, and I'm gonna give you some beer. Here's some beer, I'm selling it. And I was this is pretty good beer.
Yep.
And then he gets them all really drunk because it's really high alcohol content beer, and then they rob the place while they're sleeping. I don't know.
Oh.
Ooh.
Maybe that's good. Then we have Lacey, who's Jax's wife. She's sort of one of the gunslingers of the crew. She's very empathetic, cares about justice, and her sort of quaint trait is that she's very clean person. She hates when the camp's not clean.
Yeah.
And she gets really angry at people who are sloppy. Yeah. Then we have the last character of the crew, whose name is Hunter. Hunter is not going to join right away in our little season we got here going.
Yeah.
He's going to join a little later. He's the only member of the crew that is not going to be recruited by French.
Yeah.
This guy is recruited by Anders. He's a friend of Anders from town. He's a good shot, but he's mean and he drinks a lot.
Maybe they see him from time to time, like when they're traveling around. Like they cross paths and maybe he helps them out in a gunfight.
Yeah.
You know, he's mean, he drinks, but he's I don't know if this is how it's going. Maybe he's got a heart of copper and he, saves Kit's life, so she's got a little bit of...
No.
No?
Not where it's going.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Hunter is Anders' friend, so he also doesn't like Kit.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Anyway, first season. French is going to guide Louisa as she... wait, God, we didn't put Louisa. Her name's Kit. I don't know why I put Louisa here.
Louisa.
I guess I was changing the name. Yeah. Anyway, French guides Kit, and she... so she has like a father figure for the first time in her life. And, throughout the season, they're going to do jobs throughout. And she's going to start off working as like a distraction. She's the little kid that distracts the guards.
Yeah.
Then she's going to make her way up to a getaway driver. We're going to progress through time each episode so she can get a little older. And then finally, she's going to become a gun on the team. And throughout, this time, French is going to continually make her practice shooting. Every night after they finish drinking, he makes her go out, take all the beer bottles, set them up, and she can't go back to camp until she shoots every single beer bottle. Which, the first time she does it takes her like 4 hours because, it's hard, small glass bottle far away. That's difficult. But as she gets better and better and better, it takes her like, 30 seconds because she wipes them all out in the first go. Yeah. With the first, salvo of revolver shots.
Yeah.
He teaches her to read and gives her an education, throughout this time, trying to give her a little bit of the knowledge that he retained from university. And throughout the season, you're going to notice how Anders is going to become increasingly erratic with his behavior and angry with Kit and French because he misses being the important person. He can't get over the fact that French's intention is now given to someone else. He's got classic older child syndrome, where there's a new child that's come along and he can't cope with the fact that he's no longer the important one.
Maybe Anders is French's child, from somebody.
Anders is French's child. Yeah, that could work. Because now he's upset that his father isn't.
Yeah.
He's giving more attention to not, his actual son.
Or maybe that could be revealed later. That the reason French keeps Anders around, even though he's kind of a liability, is because
it's his kid.
It's his kid, or it was the kid. It was the son of the woman he loved who died. So
yeah.
And a note, I think Jax should be the demolitions expert, right? Because you always have to have a
big
bomb
guy for demolition. Yeah.
And because he
knows beer, so maybe he's got some chemical skills.
Yeah, he's all chemistry.
Those don't correlate perfectly, but we could just say.
Well, let's just say he is also an educated man.
I like defeating the trope that the muscle is also dumb. So it's nice to have the muscle also be smart.
Yeah, he's big, smart, and he's kind.
Yeah. But the actual guns of the crew are Lacey, Gretchen, French, and Anders. They're the people that go into the bank and grab the money. Maybe Jax holds it, but they're the ones that are the good shots. Jax isn't a good shot.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Jax is the helps.
That's why Lacey and him sort of make a good team, because she's like the natural marksman, and like, you know, horseback rider, while he's good at other stuff.
He's the home. He's like a house husband. Like, he stays home while they
makes bombs.
It makes bombs and makes beer, and like, you know, okay.
But he's also a tough guy. If there's like a bar fight, you know, you want him in for the melee. He's a big guy. He can take out lots of people in a melee, but he's not very good with a gun.
Yeah.
It's not that he's bad. Like, he's not like, you know, he'd miss everything. It's just he's not a skilled
that's not
shooter.
his thing. That's not a skill set. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, the climax of the series is Anders becomes increasingly erratic, as I said, and he and Hunter will disappear for days at a time now and come back, when before, you know, everyone's stuck together all the time.
Yeah.
So him and Hunter are continually wandering off, doing their own thing, coming back with money and you know, different clothes and stuff. It's clear they're robbing on their own.
They're robbing. They're going in. They tell everybody, "Oh, we're going into town to go see some whores.
To get a drink or something.
Yeah, whores.
We're just gonna have some fun, you know."
And then, you know, they come back. They've got, like, you know, a big chest full of money, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't go back there again. We can't go to that town again." And then, you know, they find a knife, and it's coated in blood, and like.
Yeah, so the suspicions are rising. And the show builds up to this big bank robbery. They're gonna rob this, like, whatever the biggest bank in Chicago is in this story. You know, this is like the holy grail of banks. This is where you're set up for life. And so they're going through the robbery, and it's going okay until Anders decides to shoot a civilian, a woman.
Yeah.
And kills her right there. And he's saying, like, "Oh, she was gonna reach for my gun or something." And French is obviously not believing it at all. And in the chaos, they're separated. So Jax and Lacey go one way, and the rest of them, so that's Gretchen, Hunter, Anders, and French, go another way. And Jax and Lacey have half the money. They have the other half the money. And Kit's with French and all that.
Yeah.
And so they get back to the rendezvous point. Jax and Lacey aren't there yet. And, you know, they start arguing because French is yelling at him for killing some person. And this is when it all sort of comes out that, you know, Anders, like, hates French now.
Yeah.
And French, he says, "You know what, you're done. After this, I don't want to see you again. Get out. You're out of the crew. Take your cut. I never want to see you again." And in anger, Anders kills French right there. And we get like a very sudden gunfight. So Anders pulls out a gun, shoots French. Gretchen pulls out a rifle, shoots Hunter, but then Hunter kills Gretchen.
Yeah.
But he's shot, so he's injured.
Anders pulls Anders pulls Hunter behind some cover. Kit lays down some fire as she, like, pulls Gretchen, and Gretchen's, like, bleeding to death.
Yeah.
And
so maybe actually this would make more sense. So Gretchen is, like, shooting at them, but she's been shot herself. And you know, Kit is hiding, shooting as well. And Anders and Hunter, like, ride away because Gretchen's shooting at them.
Yeah.
And she's a good shot. And so Kit's left alone with a dying Gretchen, a dying
or maybe Gretchen isn't
French
dying, but she's, like, been wounded in such a way that it's like she'll never.
Oh, she's gonna die. That's the point.
Okay.
She's gonna die here.
Okay.
So, you know, both of them are bleeding out. Kit doesn't know what to do. Gretchen's bleeding a lot more than French, and she dies first. And that's when Kit goes up to French, and they sort of have their last moment together. And it ends. This is where the season 1, or I guess maybe halfway through the season. I don't know how long it is.
I think this could be a good ending to season 1. You know.
With Louisa talking to a dying French. Like, you know, she's saying, like, "What will I do without you?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he's saying, "You'll be all right. I don't have any doubts. You'll be fine." And she says, "How can I know that?" And he says, "Because I know you're tougher than a lot of them." And
you'll have these. Gives her the pistol. Gives her the
pistol. She'll get them, but and then he says, "Go get him, Tiger." And Tiger meaning, like, 'cause she's Kit, like a cat,
like a
cat.
kitty, and now she's a.
But now she's Tiger. You know, she's grown up.
Dad.
Yeah, he's gonna say something along the lines of, "Don't worry about me. I'm about to find out if there's a point to it all."
If I can't stand it, he's gonna say can't.
So in a way, he's kind of excited because he gets to find out if there's a point to it all. But he's sad because he's dying and stuff. Next season is all about Kit trying to kill Anders and Hunter. Kit now in this season is going by Kitty Malone, or Kit Malone. Okay. So she took the last name of French.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And this series is a little different. So the last time it was like a bank robbing story, of this crew. And now it's sort of like a Lone Ranger
revenge
going through
story. Yeah, I dig it.
the West looking for, it's a revenge story, yeah. But she, she helps out towns along the way. And so she's going from, bank robber to hero in this story.
Okay.
And so she goes through the Wild West as a gunslinger, going through Western towns, helping folks while hunting. She carries French's old journal, and every time she goes to a new town, she searches for mentions of it, and she'll learn what he did when he was there, because he also explored the West before starting his Western
gang
bank robbing crew.
Yeah.
And she'll eventually track them down as the leaders of a new gang controlling a town in New Mexico. So that's Hunter and Anders are controlling this gang. And we have this cool, fight. She'll kill all the men, and she shoots Hunter in the head. Very suddenly. It's not like a slow build-up. She'll shoot him, and she'll be like, that's for Gretchen, because Hunter's the one that killed Gretchen. And eventually, it ultimately will lead down to a confrontation between her and a now older Anders. Because she was 12 in the beginning, and now she's
in her 20s.
Early 20s, maybe 20, 21. And so Anders, who was, in his 20s, maybe 28, and the last one is now in his mid 30s.
Yeah.
Because it's been around 8, 10 years, something like that. And it's going to end with her standing above him. And he's going to say something. I put this in because I thought it would be nice to connect the first season to the last season. He's going to say, I guess the kitty's a fucking tiger now. Relating back tiger to what the other guy said.
Yeah.
What French said. And then she's going to end it with, you should thank me. You get to find out if there is a point to it all, and shoots him. Referencing again that the death of French.
Well, I think it would be better if she was you get to find out if hell's real, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll see you in hell, bastard. Bang, bang. Or she's just silent, Maybe he says something, she's guess the kitty's a fucking blam, and she just blows his face off. She doesn't care. I
think it'd be nice to have that sort of that moment with Hunter, and then have a more, her having the last word with Anders.
Yeah, all right.
Because I love having moments like that in films where the protagonist just shoots the villain before they can finish what they're saying. Ends it.
Before it starts, man. It's good.
Yeah, and then, having that nice, satisfying moment with Anders would be good.
Maybe.
I imagine throughout this season, I also imagine she's going to run into Lacey and Jax.
That's what I was about to say. Maybe they've started a life for each other.
Yeah, they're living happily in a brewery somewhere
with kids, maybe.
Yeah, they're working a happy life because, we'll hear their story of they got to the camp and they find a dead and buried French and Gretchen, and everything's on fire and burned and Kit's gone. And they're like, what happened? And then they just leave with the money because they had half the money to themselves.
Yeah.
Which was their cut for the thing anyway. Or I guess more than their cut because.
Well, now it's their cut because everyone's dead.
Yeah. So they have plenty of money to survive on. And so now they're just living a nice, comfortable life.
Yeah. And maybe.
And I think it'd be nice to have it a sort of moment where Kit is offered to stay there with them. And she thinks about it because then she'll finally be happy, but ultimately decides against it because she wants the revenge.
She's got unfinished business.
She needs to have revenge.
Maybe.
And I think that's nice because I feel like a lot of time in movies they're like, oh, you can't have revenge. Revenge is bad.
Yeah.
But revenge is really satisfying to see on the screen. So
yeah, and it's she's like killing two really bad guys. It's fun. Maybe Lacey is like, I want to crack at these guys, whatever. Like, let me come with you. Yeah. And then Kit's like, you got
a family now. You can't do this.
You got a daughter. This is a young woman's game.
Well, you could have like an ending moment where Jackson, Lacey show up at that final battle.
Yeah, like Han Solo.
And come in and save.
Maybe they
But that's kind of like a Deus Ex Machina, and I don't know. Like with Han Solo, it works because it shows character development. Mm-hmm. It's an arc for Han Solo.
Yeah.
The satisfying moment of his arc is when he comes back and it shows he's not a selfish, greedy bastard. But for them, it's like they're good people, and then they show up to help her. Well, maybe. And I don't want to dilute the moment for Kit where she's a badass now. Like, this is her John Wick moment where she's going to go through and just mow through all these people.
Maybe it's like she kills Hunter. She kills a bunch of guys, but she gets captured. Or, like, they're about to, gangland execution style kill her right now. And then Jax, who, like, earlier, maybe an episode before or 2 episodes prior, had been, like, really adamant against it and been like, I've heard about them, like through the grapevine. I've heard what's been going on in New Mexico in that town, and it's like, you don't want anything to do with these guys. It's not worth it. Revenge isn't worth it. All this sort of thing. And then at the end, Jax and Lacey show up with like a cart filled with explosives, and they just like send it down into the thing. So neither of them are gonna get like killed, but it's enough of a distraction, and it kills a couple of guys, and
she gets free.
Like kills the rest of them.
Go on a run to try, and we got like Anders running away and Hunter, and she has to chase him down in like the fiery explosion aftermath.
Yeah, and maybe in the final bank robbery of the first season, Jax can get like hit somewhere, like hit in the arm or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be good if he like didn't have.
He's like injured and he's not as good as he used to be, so he's scared that he might get killed.
Maybe his arm's been cut off. From the because that's what happened back in those days. You got shot, it got infected, you had to cut it off.
I think it'd be nice if it was just his hand that was cut off, because then he can have some cool thing there. Maybe he's got like a beer flagon on his arm now.
Oh, he's got that thing that you use to swipe the foam off of a beer, and he's like a bartender.
That'd be cool.
Now. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he could use that to like knock some dude out. That'd be cool.
Oh, that'd be pretty good. Yeah. Cool. I'm digging it. And mate, what should the kids' names be? Maybe one of them should be named Gretchen. Or they find out her real name.
That'd be cute.
Eventually,
Gretchen.
At some point, they find out Gretchen's actual name. Like, oh, yeah, she gave me this letter before the final heist. And we, show it. And, open it up. And it's like, my name is Amelia. And I am, a refugee from somewhere.
Germany. I don't know.
No. I didn't think she'd be white. But she's a refugee from somewhere. And she's like,
she was German in my head.
Okay.
Because Gretchen. I always assumed they just called her that because they thought she was German. I guess she could be Austrian. Mm-hmm. So then it's like they think she's German, but she's not. She's Austrian.
Yeah. Or maybe each character has a different, knows that she came from this place, but it's all different places. Mm-hmm. So, Jax and Lacey are like, yeah, she's German. She's German. She came over here during, something, and, she got chased out of Germany for whatever reason. And then, Hunter and, what's the other guy's name? Anders are like, I'm pretty sure she's Canadian. I'm almost positive she's comes from northern Canada.
Yeah, but she doesn't speak English at all, so she has no idea what they're even saying.
That's what they say, but she does understand English. Maybe she understands 3 languages, and that could be a thing.
That would be interesting if only French could speak to her because he knew another language. Because he's the educated boy from the East, so you know, maybe he speaks like
Swahili. It's a language that neither of them should know.
Austrian with her. Okay. I don't know. Some other language he speaks with her.
Yeah.
And so that way they can communicate. Because I want to sense that she's a recluse, but she's very loyal to French.
Yeah.
Like, if she's got anyone's back, it's French. And she has a nice relationship with Kitty. Maybe they play like cards or something. I don't know.
Maybe she's like, French is, you know, making her set up the bottles and shoot them down. And like, that's at night. But during the day, Gretchen is like, she's never gonna fucking hit anything. Because you're just making her shoot at bottles.
Yeah, because maybe French has a very
straightforward
or offhand approach to it.
Yeah.
So he just like gives her a gun, a bunch of bullets, and leaves her out there.
Yeah.
And Gretchen comes and like, because she can't speak to her, so she just like moves her shoulders and her hands and arms so that she's in the right position to shoot.
Yeah.
And like sort of through action and movement explains to her how to shoot a gun.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I think that'd be a nice like visual learning experience to see, like, because every time there's a gun sequence, like someone's teaching someone how to shoot, they're like, hold your shoulders up, do this, but instead it's just going to be like her moving the other person's body so that she gets into the right position.
Yeah, and I think maybe the first season there's like a Pinkerton that's after them.
Yeah,
and they're like, throughout the season they're like, they just kind of sabotage him or make sure like he can't follow them or anything like that, and they kind of see it as a joke maybe, and then they get to the final robbery. The Pinkerton shows up, starts some shit, and that's what leads to Anders shoots him, then shoots a woman that he thinks is reaching for a gun, but she's actually just going to like cover her baby or whatever. It's like, I want Anders to be a real bad guy. So maybe instead of just a woman, he shoots like a pregnant woman, something, or like a father holding his child or something,
Yeah,
and
maybe he shoots a few people, because then that would, like, he shoots the Pinkerton, and then he like fires, and he's like, I gotta scare him, they almost had us or something.
Yeah.
He needs to have some sort of rationale behind his decision, but ultimately it's like an evil decision.
Yeah, and then Hunter is like quiet, he drinks. He's like,
yeah, and maybe he shoots somebody as well because he follows Anders' lead.
Yeah, and he likes it. He just likes shooting people because that's the kind of thing he is. That's the kind of guy he is. But I dig it. Do you have a name, a title involved in your idea? Little old head of yours?
The Ballad of Kitty Malone. I don't know.
That's
Something
not bad.
classic Western.
I was just going to say Frenchies. Because that could be the gang name. Or the Frenchies.
Well, I was going to say their gang name is the Malones or something like that. Like, because that's his last name.
Yeah.
And I sort of imagine they have like a very tight family approach to it. So like when you're part of the game, your last name is Malone. They're all Malones.
Hunter Malone, Anders Malone. Yeah, that sort of thing. All right, I can dig it. I can dig it. But yeah, I think the Ballad of Kit Kat Malone or whatever. That'd be
Kit Kat Malone.
Yeah.
No, Kitty Malone.
I think the Ballad of Kitty Malone would be a pretty good name. I'd watch the Ballad of Kitty Malone. Would you, listeners? Would you?
Yes. Yeah, Netflix. Send me an email.
So much money. How much money do you think we would get paid by Netflix?
$10.
Oh my god, so...
I would fucking take it.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would take it, but I'd demand 50% merchandise. 50% of the merchandise.
I don't think we should give them any merchandising rights. We should take them all.
Yeah, but then they're not gonna make any merchandise.
Oh shit.
If they don't make,
I want 50% of the profits. They can actually do the work.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. I enjoyed the Ballad of Kitty Malone quite a bit. And thank you, listener, for listening and watching and reading and following, liking, subscribing,
Reading.
telling your friends, telling your family, telling your enemies. This has been the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, has been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Gloth. Thank you all. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, find us. We're around. We're not hard to find. Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. Very Reasonable Pilots. VRP podcast. Put these things into Google, Yahoo Answers, into DuckDuckGo, Ask Jeeves, any of them. We're there. Probably even that weird Chinese version of Google. You know the one?
No.
I don't know the name of it, but you know how China has like fake internet because it's a bad government?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably not there anymore because I just said that the Chinese government was bad.
Yeah, I don't think we were there in the first place, so...
Taiwan is a country. They're definitely not there anymore. John Cena's gonna cry. Alright, thank you all for listening. Goodbye.